Well, good day, everybody, and welcome back to Notes from the Pastor Cave. In all honesty, this is take two, which we usually don't do, but I had a whole phone ringing session that took place during the last filming, so I had to kind of stop and start over again. As you can see, the Pastor Cave is not quite so cavey today because I had the door open. It's a lovely day outside, so it's really good for me to leave the Pastor Cave once in a while and go see the outside world. So I may do that. I may jump up and do that at any moment and leave you all behind because it is really a lovely afternoon out there. Want to remind you to subscribe if you're just seeing these for the first or second time. You haven't decided to subscribe yet. Please go ahead and do so. And that just we're not gonna get rich from this probably because you have to have over 1,000 subscriptions before you can even begin to make any money at all, and we're at like 122. But this is about so much more than that. This is about reaching out to people who want to know things that are in the scriptures, people who want to learn, people who want to be taught. So if you can subscribe and if you can tell your friends and neighbors, that would be an absolutely terrific thing for you to do. As I said, we're about 122. Sometimes we lose one, sometimes we gain one, but we're definitely right in that neighborhood. Now, last time we were in Exodus chapter 12, and I just took that first verse there, and we're by the way, if you don't know, we're going through the book of Exodus, and we're into Exodus chapter 12. And so we just took that first verse and we talked about something, but there's something more going on. And this is the chapter where God explains that there's going to be one final plague that comes through, and it's going to be absolutely awful. It's going to be absolutely devastating. And what's going to happen is that the destroyer, a destroying angel, is going to go through the land of Egypt. And, whoops, I actually hit my microphone there. It's going to go through the land of Egypt. And it's going to take away all of the firstborn of everything, literally everything. So chickens, goats, cows, house cats. If it's the firstborn of something, it's going to die. Okay, and included in that is human beings. And God gives one. He gives one remedy for that. There's not two. There's not optional remedies. Okay, there's one remedy for that. That one remedy is that, and you have to remember that the Jewish day goes from evening to evening, okay? Or I guess for the video this way, evening to evening. And so just before that evening, they're to take a lamb that they have kept for a while, and they are to slaughter that lamb, and eventually they're going to cook that lamb and eat it in their homes, okay? But they're going to take the blood from that, and they're going to take a little, kind of a little brushy, branchy thing called hyssop, and it almost acts like a little paintbrush, and they're going to dip it in the blood of that lamb, and they're going to put it on their doorposts, one above and one on each side. And when the destroyer comes through and sees that the blood is on the doorpost, God says he will pass over you. In other words, anything that's inside that house will not have the firstborn of it destroyed. Okay, so that's kind of that's just kind of the history, the outline of the whole thing, and what's going to happen. All right, but here's a little part that we don't always pay attention to here, and it comes in verse 4. It says, "And if the household is too small for a lamb, then he and his nearest neighbor shall take according to the number of persons." Okay, so what was supposed to happen is that let's say you have an older couple or a young couple, and they couldn't possibly eat a whole lamb themselves. So I couldn't eat any because I don't like lamb. But anyways, they couldn't possibly. So what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to get together with their neighbors. They're supposed to get together in large enough people groups so that these lambs that they are slaughtering can be eaten and can be eaten completely. Okay, so so the idea is, don't the idea here is don't leave anybody out, and we really we introduce a word here like gathering or community or fellowship. Okay, and these are important words that we've kind of left behind a little bit here, and I realize there's people watching all over the globe, but here in America, those are concepts that we've kind of left behind, or we think of them as being optional. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, but they were supposed to gather together in community. They weren't supposed to be by themselves on Passover, and that's the way it was supposed to be done from there on out. And it even developed over the years into a thing where if just before the Passover began, you were supposed to kind of look around your community. You were supposed to kind of look, if you're in a village or in a city, you're supposed to look around and make sure that there wasn't anybody left out who didn't want to be left out. Now, if somebody didn't, you didn't make people come to your Passover meal. But if there was a stranger or an alien, a stranger, a couple that's traveling and somehow they get caught on Passover away from home, there's many scenarios that could take place. That family, if they desired to share the Passover with another family, with other people, it was incumbent upon you to invite them into your dwelling. Don't let anybody just be out there in the public square. Don't let them be out there by themselves when really they want to be inside. And so it just paints a very beautiful picture of what God is trying to do with this idea of community, of being together. And as I said before, one of the problems with American culture is that we've kind of left behind this idea of community and fellowship. And so we have these, we have this list of, if I am going to be a follower of Christ, here is my list of must-dos that I have gleaned from the scriptures, right? I gotta be a person of prayer, and I've got to be a person who reads God's word, and I have to be a person who tithes and gives to the Lord. And these are all important things. I have to apply myself to learning. I have to apply myself to knowing more about God as time goes on. But just as important on that biblical list is this little word. Well, it's not really a little word; it's a long word. Fellowship. But for some reason, we've taken that word fellowship and we've made it optional. Yeah, well, if I can make it to church once in a while, that's fine. I don't really need to be with it, because I'm pretty strong. I don't really need to be with other people. I don't really need to be in community, and I don't need to be in the gathering. And on top of that, we've lost the art of just inviting people into our homes and loving them, feeding them and loving them. And really what you're doing when you invite somebody into your home and you treat them well, what you're doing is you're honoring them. And what you're telling them is that you're saying, look, you have value. I recognize that God values you. And so I'm bringing you into my home and I'm treating you with value because God treats you with value. And that is my testimony. That is my witness to you that I'm a person of God, that I will love you and love over you in the same way that my Savior does. Okay? So these things are not there. We've taken that word fellowship and then we've just made it into an option. It's not optional. Your local fellowship, your local gathering of believers, they need you. Okay, they need you, and you're talking to a small church pastor here. They need you. They need your presence, even if you're just there as a warm body in the seats, right? Because there's an old principle that says a crowd attracts a crowd, right? So and a lot of us have had the experience of going into a church that has 35 people in a fairly big building, and it's uncomfortable, you know. But if you've got another 25, 30, you get over that 50 mark, all of a sudden it doesn't feel so empty anymore. Those extra people, that has to be you. That has to be you, because they're not just going to, God's not just going to make people fall from the sky. That has to be you. And so there is a give and a take to this idea of fellowship and gathering. But the Israelites were supposed to gather in groups as an act of worship. This was never supposed to be done on your own. It was supposed to be done in a group with fellow believers, and nobody was supposed to be left out. Nobody was supposed to be left out. Okay. So that's my little word here for today, and I think probably well, I don't know. Chapter 12 is pretty long. We might have a few more things to say about chapter 12. But anyways, we will see you in a few days, and I will remind you, as I always do, Vita brevis, gloria aeterna. Life is short, and glory is eternal. Have a great day. God bless.